وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر عبر WDMV راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
You're listening to Yella Fight Back Radio, broadcast from Detroit on WNZK AM 690 Radio. I'm in Chicago, and it is Friday, April 20th, 2018. Ray Hanania here. We'll be taking your calls later on in the show at 248-557-3300. Yella Fight Back Radio is part of the U.S. Arab Radio Network, hosted by Layla Al-Husseini, in an effort to energize and empower Arab Americans to stand up for their rights. For more information, go to my website at hanania.com. The radio show call-in number again is 248-557-3300. We podcast this radio show. You can get the link by going to hanania.com or on the U.S. Arab Radio Network website. We got a big network of news websites that we connect to. And we put all our links to everything that hopefully you can read. You can read all my columns in English and Arabic online at the Arab News newspaper and online at arabnews.com. Locally, I also write for the Southwest News Herald newspaper group every week, doing my best to upset as many people as possible. Go to yellafightback.com and get info on the radio show. Listen online and buy the book, Yella Fight Back. Anyway, our guest this morning, I'm really honored to have him on, is Emad El-Hady, who joins us to talk about developments in Syria, in the Gaza Strip, and in the Middle East in general. El-Hady is a veteran Arab world journalist, having worked with the Middle East Broadcasting Network in recent years, and years ago with the Arab Republic of Egypt Radio and TV Overseas Network. In the 1980s. El-Hady has his PhD in drama and political media studies from Royal Holloway and Bedford College at the University of London. Emad, welcome to the radio show. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, Ray. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Listen, let's start with Syria. And I have a big question, because I know we could talk about the regular stuff that everybody's talking about, but this is an issue that interests me, and I wonder, and I know it interests a lot of our listeners, and I wonder what you think of it. The Arab community in the Middle East and in the United States, we are really divided when it comes to Syria. We're not divided when it comes to Israel, obviously, or at least the majority of Arabs, regardless of your politics, seem to really, condemn Israel's abuses and atrocities in the Gaza Strip. But when it comes to Syria, I don't know. To me, I'm offended by the violence there and it seems like it's the Syrian government. But there are so many people that defend the Syrian government. Why is that? What kind of politics is at play? Is it the religion? Is it politics? Are they worried about how, crippling Syria will impact the cause against Israel? What do you think is the main driving factor for most Arab Americans and Arabs in the Middle East?
I think the Syrian civil war have exposed the fault lines of the Arab politics at its worst. It's all of the above, all what you just mentioned. It's religious, sectarian, and politics. If you start with what you really put the nail on is the Syrian government. This was, or at least started as part of what's known as the Arab Spring, but the reaction of the Syrian government was so violent and so out of place that it led to where we are now. Now, if we talk about the dividing lines in Arab politics, we have mainly, since the Arab Spring at least, two camps, if you like, those of the old regime and those of the revolutionary ones, or who hoped that they are going to change the status quo. It ended up very drastically, unfortunately. But the most tragic one was exemplified in the Syrian civil war. Now, it's no longer a Syrian civil war as much as actually a small, let's say, regional war, if not.
Like is it a proxy war, you
war.
think, between the United States now and Russia? Or a proxy war between different Arab countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon?
It has been from the beginning a proxy war. There's a lot of regional players who are actually working partly for their own interests and partly serving other masters. That's the sad fact there. And we have seen as of late, since the tripartite strikes by U.S., Britain and France, how such an issue is dividing the Arab world, not only, but actually the whole world. Now we have a very sharply opposed two camps as to what happened and what kind of reaction would happen. Unfortunately, until now, we're still talking about every party has its own narrative, and each party is actually canceling the other party's narrative. We cannot for sure know what happened exactly or what's going to happen. Now, the Syrian civil war is in its 8th year. There is no end. There is no light at the end of the tunnel because all these parties involved are serving their own interests, and the least of their interest is the Syrian people. That's the most tragic fact of the war.
Now, when we talk about this conflict in Syria, one thing that makes it stand out above a lot, you know, I know a lot, and I'm Palestinian, obviously, and I know a lot of Palestinians say, why does the U.S. only care about Syria, but they don't do anything about Israel's atrocities, you know, against the Palestinians in Gaza? And it's true, what Israel is doing in the Gaza, the government, you know, I like to always make sure we're talking about governments. They are committing atrocities, killing innocent people. But Syria's government, it appears, has stepped it up one step higher, making it far worse, using chemical weapons, which obviously when you're killing people, you kill people with a bullet or a chemical weapon, but a chemical weapon is so destructive in a broad way. How do we address this issue of chemical weapons? Because as you say, you know, the Syrians, they don't allow witnesses to stay there, you know, third-party, you know, observers to monitor this stuff. We have to kind of take the word of the victims and with the pushback from the government. How do you look at this use of chemical weapons, and how does the average person wrap their mind around what's happening with chemical weapons there?
First of all, let's agree that the Syrian regime has a very bad record when it comes to using chemical weapons. Not only
yes, they do. I agree with you 100%, and I don't think anybody out there can challenge that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The second point, which is you just hinted, this is another very tragic irony that a lot of people in the Arab world are now talking about that even the Israelis wouldn't have done what the Syrian regime is doing it
right
to its own people. It was said as well about Libya's Gaddafi that I used to get phone calls from people saying that how come America doesn't interfere and stop this madman killing his own people? And everybody was comparing what's happening in some Arab countries to what's
right.
been done by Israel, which is already condemned. We agree on that. But
right.
people were making this comparison, which is very sad irony. And also now, the international community, and as of late, as you were just pointing to Gaza, until this very moment, there is no real reaction from the international community compared to what happened in Syria, or for that matter in Yemen, to what's happening in Gaza. So far, 38 people have been killed since they started their return march in the March 30. So, unfortunately, the world is very busy with other more pressing issues, as they see it, than what's happening in Gaza, which is appalling as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's such an important point. Just because as a Palestinian, I focus on the chemical attacks, and I believe they're from the government. I mean, I see no reason this idea that the rebels are going to stage their own chemical attacks, and you can find evidence that this is just ridiculous, but that it is the Syrian government most likely doing it. They have a track record. But this idea that somehow my concern being focused on Syria and the chemical attacks is taking away from the moral fight against Israel's, violence against Palestinians. There are different levels at different times, and I think Arabs should, I think most of us are sophisticated people. We can handle two different atrocities at two different levels. Not everything is a Holocaust. Not everything is a act of gun violence down the street from my home. There are different levels of violence, and I think we do a disfavor, though, to the Palestinian cause, in my opinion, when we say, why are you so indignant about Syria, Ray Hanania, and yet you don't have the same indignation about Israel? Well, I do. I do have that indignation, but the idea of chemical weapons against little babies and women and children, to me, is just disgusting at a higher level, and suggests that there's no hope that we can do anything with the Assad regime. With the Israelis, as much as I dislike their policies, I think there's some hope, as fleeting as it is, that we might be able to reach an accord in spite of the level of violence there. What do you think of that?
Yes, to a certain extent, the Israelis could be held accountable by the international community if there is enough pressure, certainly from the United States. But the U.S. is now quite busy with much bigger issues, not to mention the built-in bias towards Israel. But what's more important, as you just pointed out, another irony that we Arabs cannot be actually focusing on one issue and neglecting the other for any reasonable excuse, because it's simply killing is killing under any name. But the other irony that really bothers me personally and makes me feel very outrageous is that we're talking about chemical weapons, which is a horrible weapon. But Assad has been killing his own people with even much worse weapons. Nobody talks about it. If we hold him accountable for killing people with chemical weapons, how about barrel bombs? How about all other weapons that's been
so in other words, what you're saying, Ammar, and just again for my listeners on the line with me here at Yalla Fight Back Radio, is Emad El-Hady, who is a veteran Arab World journalist and helping us kind of look at some of these issues. What you're telling me is that for some reason, the world only cares about Syria when chemical weapons are used. But when no chemical weapons are used, the government can massacre thousands of people using these giant bombs and Russian-made aircraft, and nobody cares. There's no mention of it in the media.
Yes, that's very true. And of course it has been part of what's now called the new Cold War. It's a political football between Russia and the United States, or Russia and the West. So there are some red lines, there are rules of the game. None of the parties involved are prepared to breach these rules. So it comes to something like chemical weapons that the West might get its act together and start acting, just because it is an easy thing to pinpoint and to rally the international opinion behind it. But once this happened, as it did almost a week ago, and they destroyed or targeted 3 main facilities of chemical weapons, Assad was back on the game again, attacking Homs, attacking other parts, and killing people in the same old way. Even though, not only that they are now admitting, the American top brass, that, well, we are not sure actually that he still have capabilities of using chemical weapons against. He might not be ready to do this right now, but I can assure you he will do it again, because simply he uses them when he cannot get to kill his opposition, militia,
Right.
or whatever you call. So he resorts to the last thing in his arsenal, which is chemical weapons. And he can see now that the American or the Western will to interfere in Syria seriously is not there.
Yeah. We're on the line with Emad El-Hady, a veteran Arab World journalist, and we're talking about Syria. We're going to talk a little bit about Gaza, and later on during the show, we will we'll take some phone calls at 248-557-3300. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue the discussion here at Yellow Fight Back Radio on the U.S. Arab Radio Network with our guest, Emad El-Hady. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600. The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
We're on the line with Emad El-Hady, a veteran Arab World journalist who worked with the Middle East Broadcasting Network in recent years and previously in the 1980s with the Arab Republic of Egypt Radio and TV Overseas Network. I'm Ray Hanania, and you are listening to Yellow Fight Back Radio. I'm here every second Friday of the month, but I do special Fridays. So, you're lucky. You're catching me today with a great guest. It's not my normal day doing the radio, but, we will drop in and out on Fridays usually. But if you go to my website at hanania.com or one of the other ones like the ArabDailyNews.com or even my mainstream website, SuburbanChicagoland.com, and these websites get 800,000 views a month. They're doing very well because there aren't a lot of English language websites that focus on the Middle East, and they're indexed by Google News. And personally, I think, of course, Google discriminates against Arabs, holding back and suppressing a lot of our news. But Emad, we were talking about some issues and a couple great points that he made that I found really fascinating, very accurate. We don't care about Syria massacres and atrocities unless they involve chemical weapons. When they don't involve chemical weapons, we don't see stories about it in the news. And the other thing, and Emad, maybe you can comment on this, sometimes when initially, when chemical weapons were used, I think it was like April 7th or so, there were reports that said the Israelis launched airstrikes against Syria's government, and there was this huge outcry from some segments of the Arab world that this is Israeli atrocities, whatever. And then when it became clear that it was American, French, and British air forces, the whole context of the debate shifted again. You throw in Israel, and again, Israel's government is committing atrocities, in my opinion, but you throw in Israel, and the balance of morality seems to go out the window. It's just, it's very troubling to me. Where is, you mentioned it when we were talking before the break that this conflict's been going on for 8 years and it doesn't look like there's a solution. Is it really that bad?
It is actually bad, but the point you just mentioned now is really very crucial, and it makes me very sad. I mentioned before that some Arab people were comparing what's being done by Syria's regime or Libyans or any other leader who is killing his own people to what Israelis doing. And unfortunately, the moral high ground is being taken by Israel in such comparison. Even Israeli politicians now are using it. The Prime Minister Netanyahu himself have used it time and time and again. Now, as of late, what made me very troubled and really disturbed, the reaction of some Arab people when America and Britain and France start bombing these chemicals. You can't imagine how people were siding with somebody like Assad. I can't get to grips with what kind of morality that gripping the mindset of the Arab people, that they can't see that two wrongs don't make one right. They are both criminal. They are both killing innocent people. So we can't just pick one and side with him against the other. You have to condemn both.
It has to be consistent.
Hasn't been happening with the Arab people. I don't know why.
Well, and then also, I think the bigger criminal, in my opinion, honestly, the criminal in all of this, when it comes to the Middle East, is the Western mainstream news media. I really believe the news media is complicit, and I want to go back to that example about when people first reported, when the media first reported that Israel had attacked Syria in response to the chemical war. And remember, and you heard this, correct? Did you hear those reports also? Yes. And so the media came to the defense of Israel. The media was saying, this is right. Israel is justified in attacking Syria. The next day, when it became clear that it wasn't Israel, it was the British, the French, and the United States, and led by the Trump administration, as bad as he is or good as he is besides the point, the media completely turned on it. And they denounced the attacks when it was the U.S., France, and Britain. When it was Israel, they stood by 100%. And the media, when they realized that this was done by the U.S. under Trump, they completely condemned the attacks. And then we started seeing these questions about, are the chemical attacks real, or are they false flag, fake, being drummed up by the West? Poor Assad, the victim of, social media hoaxes. That media role is troubling, and I think that's adding to the turbulence that we have in the Arab community.
Can you believe it that some of the mainstream media, some anchors, some talk shows completely adopted the Assad narrative and the Russian one about the chemical weapon. They say there is no proof. It's all a hoax.
Right.
It's fabricated. I mean, at least have the dignity of taking a neutral line. You could say that we have to find out, but to adopt such thing only because you want to pin down somebody like Trump or his administration, that's really very sad.
Right. That hatred of Trump sometimes is worse than the opposition to the use of chemical weapons. And you're right, it is disturbing. And that's not to defend Trump. I mean, he's done many terrible things that I don't agree with. Although, if you listen to my radio show, you know that I always felt Trump was the better option because he's like a bomb in the Republican Party. He's going to destroy the National Republican Party and throw the hypocritical Democratic Party into total disarray. So if we had Hillary Clinton, everybody would be happy and they'd be doing the same things that they've been doing. But because we have Trump, everybody's angry, the parties are in disarray. And as an Arab who's a victim of this American politics and their bias and their racism against Arabs, I'm happy to see that turmoil.
I couldn't agree more, Ray. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, because Clinton would have just done the same thing, if not worse. But
exactly, because she'd smile when she said it. Yeah. She'd smile and we would let her do it.
Yeah. At least this guy he talks straight and he speaks his mind, and so you can rally people against him. He is very clear. He's no politician. He's no smart. So that's enough for us because you have a clear and present danger here. While Hillary was, wow.
Yeah, and you know, that's one thing that, go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to pinpoint again about the division that's being caused by every single incident that comes out of the Syrian war, not only in the Arab world, but now in the United States of America. We have a very partisan media, that the partisanship has been divided America as probably never before, to the best of my knowledge. That I can't watch some of the mainstream media broadcasts to see how they are trivializing everything.
Yes.
Right. The big issues. Can you believe they made a big story out of Trump not holding the hand of the First Lady? And
that's ridiculous.
Completely something happening.
Right. They massacre civilians in Syria, and it's a political issue. Trump doesn't hold the hand of the First Lady, and it's a crisis. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, how we have trivialized the most important because of partisan politics. And like I said, I don't agree with everything Trump does, but I don't think the Arabs, and I hate to say this, but Arabs in America, we're not sophisticated. We don't realize that Trump has brought us together against his policies. And had he not been there, we would be divided into 10 different opinions, fighting against ourselves the way we always do in this country. We're sometimes our own worst political enemies when it comes to challenging the racism and the biases that exist in this country against us as Arab Americans.
Yes, also the one very important point probably many people do not pay attention to, that what we are seeing now is a game that's beneficial for both parties, for Trump and for the media. The media just love all these trashy news, all these trashy stories about the president. That's what the British call the dumbing down of people. So they are picking up on all these little things and making big stories out of it. And Trump just loves to be the center of attention 24/7. So every day, every minute he gives them a tweet, something outrageous, something dumb or stupid.
Yes, and the most disappointing thing for me as an Arab American is the idea that Arab Americans would believe the news media before they believe anybody else. The news media is the first step in a long staircase of racism and discrimination in this country against Arabs and a bias against our political views. I'm Ray Hanania. You're listening to Yellow Fight Back Radio on WNZK AM 690 Radio, broadcasting out of Detroit. I'm in Chicago. My guest, Emad El-Hady, is joining us to talk about developments in Syria, Gaza, and the Middle East. He's a veteran Arab world journalist, having worked with the Middle East Broadcasting Network in recent years. We're going to take calls at 248-557-3300. And after this break, we'll also maybe talk a little bit about Gaza, what's happening there, and what can we do about it? Why is this continuing, and where it's like a paralysis? I'm Ray Hanania. This is Yellow Fight Back Radio. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
أسواق زمزم الواقع على 24065 أورشد لك في مدينة فارمington هيلز ترحب بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. تنزيلة كبيرة على عموم المواد الغذائية في يوم الأربعاء من كل أسبوع. لا تنسوا فريش كاري اوت، جميع انواع المعجنات، وايضا صواني الكمبو المشكله والصمون الحار. لحوم حلال الجاليه العربيه والاسلاميه، الملحمه باداره قصاب الجاليه المعروف سلوان جربوع. زوروهم على 24065 اورشد لك في مدينه فارمington هيلز، او اتصلوا بهم على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمذاق عنوان لجميع طلباتكم. اتصلوا على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمعامله الراقية وكرم الضيافة عنوان.
Life is a non-profit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
And I'm Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690 Radio on Yellow Fight Back Radio, live Arab radio across the country, through the greater Detroit region, and online. You can listen to us online. Go to my Facebook page, go to any of my websites, all linked through the hub at hanania.com. Our guest on the line is Emad El-Hady, who is a veteran Arab world journalist and analyst. We're talking about Syria. We're going to talk a little bit about the Gaza Strip and the violence by Israel against Gaza. And, of course, the main theme that I always address is the bias of the media and why it's so important that we have our own media where we can talk and express ourselves without having to address the biases and the issues that often have nothing to do with us that the media throws on our backs. Right now, let's take a phone call at 248-557-3300 and say hey to Jerry. How you doing, Habibi?
Hello, Habibi, Mr. Ray Hanania. I missed you last week. I waited for you 57 minutes. You didn't take my call. I know.
I'm sorry.
You were very busy.
We had that Ali Yunus, and it was tough to work it in. I'm really sorry.
I understand. I love you, and that's why I'm calling you back on your show. Thank you, Mr. Ray, for taking my call, and I want to say hello to your guest, the former journalist, Mr. Emad El-Hady. Hello, Mr. Emad El-Hady.
أهلا بيك.
شكرا يا جيري حابة. Mr. Emad El-Hady, I do believe is a hot topic, is very important as Middle Eastern. We are all suffer, and we are looking what's going on, and we are very sad. What I try to say, Mr. Emad El-Hady, and you have all the experience, don't you think Syria become the scapegoat right now, especially when Turkey and Iran, they are each one of them pushing one side against each other. And don't you think, Mr. Emad, if we caught Syria civil war start 8 years ago, don't you think it developed right now to be called the Arab civil war in Syria? Then the big question to you, Mr. Emad, and I don't think this is against President Bashar al-Assad. This is not an issue. But my bigger question is, don't you think, Mr. Emad, Syria is the unclaimed war right now as in religious issue and the difference between the Shia Muslim and the Sunni Muslim, because when Turkey pushing from one side and when Iran pushing from the other side, and one of them represents the Sunni, one of them represents the Shia, don't you think this is the whole issue?
All right, Jerry, thank you. Let's ask Emad to answer that. Is it one question that, Jerry, and thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're welcome, and then we'll take another call in a minute. But Emad, is this a war between Sunni and Shiites? You know, Iran and the Arab world is again like a proxy war that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, to a large extent, this is a very important component of what's happening now. And I agree with your caller that it's actually an Arab civil war, not just a Syrian civil war.
Right.
What's really sad that people tend to be ignoring or not paying enough attention is the fact that Assad is no longer ruling Syria. Assad is just being a puppet played by the Iranians, the Turks, and the Russians. And again, it's very sad that we see a kind of marriage of convenience between Iran and Turkey, who are opposed arch enemies because of mainly religious religious lines. And these two regional powers are dividing Syria between themselves. And then comes Russia, that's playing the bigger part in keeping the status quo as it is. Now, I can't talk about that without, if you allow me, pointing to the origin of the problem, which I have sadly to put the blame with Mr. Obama. Obama, as one commentator, British commentator put it, has surrendered the world to chaos. Obama could have acted in the right time, but he did not. And America's credibility paid a lot for that. And that's what actually opened the conflict in Syria to not just regionally wide, but worldwide. And then came Russia in, and we have been in this quagmire for more than 7 years now.
I know a lot of people, you know, they always defend Obama and say, oh, no, that was Congress that stopped him from imposing his red line. But I don't believe that. He was the president. He drew a red line, and then when Assad crossed it, We didn't do anything. We have another caller on hold. Let's bring Nader on if he's still on there at 248-557-3300. Hey, Nader, it's Ray Hanania. You're on with Emad El-Hady.
Good morning, Ray. I love your show. And good morning, Mr. El-Hady.
Good morning.
I just want to say something about this vampire, who's killing, children and older people, women, and dropping container bombs into these people. And nobody, from the international community reacted until, they heard about the chemical weapons. And he's been doing far more than that.
Yeah, that's the most disturbing part of this whole thing. You're right. It's like nobody cares until he drops a chemical weapon. If he didn't use chemicals, it'd be almost as if he could murder people left and right and nobody would do anything. It's kind of depressing.
Exactly. And he's going back after after we bombed, particular places, for political reasons. He went back and back to his killing, his massacres, to the children, women, and nobody from the international community did anything. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel for this. And to be honest with you, the statistics shows right now 1 million orphans in Syria.
Yeah, it's depressing.
And 1 million. I was really shocked when I heard this statistics. Not to mention, the injured people who flee out of Syria. Think about 17 million. So this guy, he's actually a president on a ruined place, bringing people, another population to the country. And I think this is, to be honest with you, I think this is going to be taking, more time, becoming like more sectarial war. And if we do not intervene or do something, I don't know. This is, to be honest with you, this is really.
I think the United States has to intervene in Syria. We need to take out the government and then try to allow the people. But we have a bad record when you look at Iraq. What they did in Iraq. It makes some people happy, but it doesn't make some people happy. I don't think anybody can say that they have a real democracy in Iraq. Nader, thank you so much for your call this morning, and your points are really well taken.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's stay on the line at 248-557-3300 and go to Abraham, who is on hold. Hey, Abraham, you're on with
how are you?
Emad El-Hady. How are you?
How are you guys?
Thank you for calling.
We're fine, thank you.
Yeah, I want just to say, back to Iraq, this is the payback of Iraq. What they did in Iraq, God is very fair, to test the war. What they did in Iraq, almost 2 generations, you can say, is gone because of the false war and because of the lies of the superpower. Now,
yeah, in Iraq, I think it's true that Rumsfeld and Cheney. I don't know if you saw that series called Looming Tower, when Condoleezza Rice looks at the security group and orders them, Rumsfeld wants us to come up with evidence that Iraq and Saddam Hussein were involved with September 11th.
Yes, publicly all the leaders in the world, they said, they found nothing, they just lied. And
they lied. You're right.
Anyway, and God is here, to teach the people, especially the superpower, they create the problem when they have the business. And what you mentioned, Condoleezza Rice, she has a company in her name. And back to your caller, Jerry, I want to add something, the top official of Iran publicly declared, he said, we dominated 6 countries. And you mentioned, Iran is, I'm just talking about the official people, the evil people, and the disease, and that's what all I say.
All right, listen, Abraham, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the show.
Thank you.
All right, and listen, Emad, just hang on. We got to take one more break. You know, unfortunately, radio costs a lot of moolah, and we can't do that for free. So I'm on the line with Emad El-Hady. He's going to spend 14 more minutes with us toward the end of the show, taking calls and maybe commenting. We want to talk a little bit about Gaza and what Israel is doing there. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a break here at Yellow Fightback Radio, WNZK AM 690 Radio in Detroit, and we will be right back right after these messages.
أسواق زمزم الواقع على 24065 أورشد لك في مدينة فارمington هيلز ترحب بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. تنزيلات كبيرة على عموم المواد الغذائية في يوم الأربعاء من كل أسبوع. لا تنسوا فريش كاري اوت، جميع انواع المعجنات، وايضا صواني الكامبو المشكله والصمون الحار. لحوم حلال الجاليه العربيه والاسلاميه الملحمه باداره قصاب الجاليه المعروف سلوان جربوع. زوروهم على 24065 اورشد لك في مدينه فارمington هيلز او اتصلوا بهم على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمذاق عنوان لجميع طلباتكم. اتصلوا على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمعامله الراقية وكرم الضيافة عنوان.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
قشات ميديترينيان ماركت بإدارة سهر قشات وأولاده يرحبون بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. جميع أنواع المواد الغذائية، البان طازجة، الكرزات والبهارات الطازجة. داخل الأسواق مطعم ميديترينيان شيش كباب يقدم يوميا جميع أنواع الكباب، المقبلات العربية العراقية وصواني الكامبو المميزة. تفتح الأسواق من 8 إلى 9 مساء من الاثنين وحتى السبت، ومن 8 صباحا إلى 9 مساء يوم الأحد. تقع الأسواق على 32839 نورث ويسترن هايوي في مدينة فارمington هيلز. لحوم حلال للجالية الإسلامية. لطلباتكم من المطعم كول 248-538-7855. That is 248-538-7855. قشة ميديترينيان ماركت، خدمة متميزة ومعاملة راقية.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Emad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Emad Nakash. See Dr. Emad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
And welcome back to Yellow Fightback Radio here at WNZK AM 690, run during the last segment of our radio show. I'm here usually on the second Friday of every month, and we do have other programs that are coming up in the coming weeks. Next week on the, I think it's not next week, but May 4th, we have a show, and we're going to talk with Warren and Amal David about the campaign to promote Arab Heritage Month in April nationally. Right now, there are only about 8, maybe 7 states that have recognized Arab American Heritage Month nationally in April. And Illinois recognizes it in November, but we've had Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who hates Arabs. He's pretty much decimated the Arab celebrations in the city of Chicago, and he doesn't care, and unfortunately nobody else cares that he doesn't care. And then on May 11th, we have Iraqi artist Michael Rakowitz, who's going to talk about his effort to recreate much of the Iraqi iconic art figures, historical figures, and he rebuilds them and including the Lamous that he put up in London. He set that up over there. So we're going to get all the details on May 11th. You go to my website at hanania.com or the ArabDailyNews.com, and you'll be able to see this calendar. On the line with me is Emad El-Hady, who is a veteran Arab world journalist and analyst, Middle East analyst. Emad, you know, radio goes by too quickly. One day, and I've been saying this for 45 years, one day we will have a real, genuine Arab media in the United States where we have a radio show 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where we could talk about all these issues and educate not just our community, but educate the Americans who need to hear your views and the views of all the people that have called in. Let's talk real quick about Gaza. What is going on in Gaza? I mean, stepping back, what is happening in Gaza?
Now, what's happening now, unfortunately, is going to get worse because we know we are looking at some dates coming up very soon. I think on the 15th of May, which is the Nakba War,
right,
and the establishment of Israel state for the Jews, that's going to be a very important date that will push the Palestinian people to actually increase their protest, because on that date we know very well that President Trump might take part in a celebration in Israel for acknowledging Jerusalem, Al-Quds, as the capital of Israel. There is also what has started, also Yom al-Ard, the Land Day, and today they are calling it Gum'at al-Shuhada wal-Asra. This is the martyrs and the Palestinian President Friday. So everything points to that direction because nobody is looking or even concerned about what's happening in Gaza in the international community, simply because the world is much more concerned with bigger issues, be it Syria, be it the coming North Korean meeting between Trump and Kim Jong, being it the cancellation expected very much of the nuclear deal with Iran. All these are big issues that the American media is focusing on, not to mention the bias you have pointed out earlier, that they, when it comes to the Palestinian cause, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, they do not pay much attention. So Palestinians are being killed, they are dying, unfortunately, but nobody is taking notice.
It's almost as if the media accepts it, but I have to say I'm a little disappointed in the Arab community. My theory always was that Donald Trump would do something that would push us to get off our butts here in the United States. I'm not talking about the Arabs that are, suffering and have to endure the atrocities and the violence from Israel, but I'm talking about Arab Americans in this country, 4.5 million, maybe 1 million Palestinians that live in this country. What are we doing about it? They declared that Jerusalem is going to be the capital of Israel, and it almost happened with nearly no protest. It was as if we didn't do anything. The Arab world was silent. There was the usual rhetoric. The Palestinians even, I don't know are we just used to yelling and screaming and doing nothing? Were you surprised that he was able to do this recognition issue of Jerusalem by Israel with nothing, no consequences? There were absolutely, everything is the same. No consequences. How do we explain that?
That's a very sad fact. We have to come face to face with. Unfortunately, the Palestinian narrative has always been focusing on that the Palestinian issue, the Palestinian cause, is the core, the most important one in the Arab world. Unfortunately, it's no longer the case because each Arab country is sharply divided, overwhelmed with its own trouble, conflict, its own fears, its own enemies created falsely or real ones. So the Palestinian issue is no longer taking the lead in this, despite what you said that everybody is paying lip service to it. All the rhetoric is happening. When Trump decided to do this, it's been reported that he called a number of Arab leaders in Egypt, in Jordan, in Saudi Arabia, and all of them warned him that this is not the right step in the right time, that's killing the people in the bud, that's actually taking sides in a very bad way. He didn't read any of these advice, but he did it for his own political reasons, which we all know. But the sad thing is, or the much sadder one is that the reaction of the Arab people, however, in the Arab countries or in America. Now, it seems that everybody is really concerned with bigger issues now, that we are sharply divided along all sorts of lines, political, religious, sectarian, and what have you not. So nobody.
Emad, do you have a web page where people can go to follow, your writings and your thoughts? Is there something that you want to promote to help get some people to, maybe read more about what you do and your views on things? Is there a website?
Yes, sir, indeed. It's wnzk.com. It's about Arab-American relations.
All right, wnzk.com. I will try to add a link to it on my website. We pretty much run out of time, Emad, but I have to have you back on. We need to talk more about this, and it's just a shame that things are the way they're at, because we can yell and scream and blame everything on Assad. We can blame everything on Israel, but it really comes down to us as a community. What are we really doing about it? That's the question I think we all have to answer. Emad El-Hady, my guest this morning, veteran Arab World journalist, worked with the Middle East Broadcasting Network. His website is emadelhady.com. Emad, it was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you, and I look forward to doing this again someday soon.
The pleasure is all mine, Ray. Thank you very much for the interview.
You're welcome. No problem. I'm Ray Hanania. This is Yellow Fight Back Radio. April 20th, go to my website at hanania.com or thearabdailynews.com to get more information, or arabnews.com, where I write every week. You guys have a great day. Mike, thank you for running the board and taking the calls. We will talk to you again. Remember, May 4th, I'll be back here at WNZK 690 AM. Have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.